All right, fourth time. I'm Jen. I don't know if you know these ladies, but it's Lauren and Lisa from Glamazon. Is it working, Jess? Before I ask who you are.
We'll pretend we haven't done this again.
Right. Who are you? Good to see you.
I'm Lauren Silvers. I'm the co-founder of Glamazon.
And I'm Lisa Maree. I'm the other co-founder of Glamazon. Just the same joke again, because you didn't hear it last time.
So how did you girls get, or what do you do, and how did you get started?
Okay, so I started Glamazon 4.5 years ago. It was a salon booking app. It was basically built out of my frustrations in booking salon appointments when I used to work in PR. Fast forward a few years, realized that there was a trend towards peer-to-peer services, at-home services, not wanting to start from scratch. I sort of wanted a faster route to market, and I was looking for merger opportunities. And then
So my background is I have another business overseas. I've had it for 8 years. It's called Lisa Maree. It's a fashion label. I got it to a stage where I didn't have to be involved anymore on a day-to-day basis. And so at that point, after living overseas for about 5 years, I moved back to Australia. And as I've said before, there was an emerging trend for at-home beauty services in the American market. It was really prevalent. There was definitely something there. And when I came back to Australia, I noticed a gap in the market, and it led me to launch Glam Crew at the time, which was an at-home beauty services business. I met Lauren through an investor a couple of months after launching the company, and he was our matchmaker, I guess. We spent...
Cupid.
He was Cupid.
So it was eHarmony, not Tinder.
We met, and I think it took us a week to sort of shake on an equity split and merge our companies.
we literally met like 5 meters away from where we're sitting
We
right
did,
now for the
yeah,
first time, and we
first
wore
time.
pretty much the
Yeah,
same
same
outfit.
thing. Yeah, and now
We
we
both had
finish,
our
You remembered,
coats on.
right? Love if you remember.
now we finish each other's sentences. So I mean, we saw the opportunity in collaboration, and we didn't see each other as
Competitors.
Yeah, not at all. So it was really...
Which I think is rare in itself. Like, we say it, and it sometimes hits me how massive that is to be meeting with someone who's doing the exact same thing as you, who's trying to take the same market as you, and you've both put so much of your own time, effort, and money, blood, sweat, and tears into your own products, and then you meet someone doing the same thing, and it's kind of like, oh, you want to have this wall up, but I've never had that.
Very successful, prominent women, right? You're amazing at what you do, but then to take the ego out of it, like that's
and
tough.
I think about how kind of crazy that is, that we both met each other and instantaneously were like, let's do this together. And I mean, it obviously worked out for the best, which is wonderful, but I think that's the key. It was, as we say all the time, 1 + 1 = 10. It was a no-brainer.
So what's the business model now then? How does that work?
So it's just at-home beauty services.
Yeah,
Yep.
we did pivot. I think we looked at our metrics, and it was pretty clear where we needed to focus our energy and our money, and that's the way we focused it.
I think it was timing is everything. I think, and at-home services, delivery services, peer-to-peer services, UberX, renting out your private home on Airbnb. All of these amazing things are so prevalent and preferred now that it's like we just needed to go with the timing of the world and just follow our gut as well. And so we, like Lisa said, we pivoted.
Yeah, and there was a cultural shift. You can look at any sort of business now, and it's all about peer-to-peer services.
So you guys have grown from 2 staff yourselves to 7 in such a short period of time, 4 months, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the high-level metrics for the business?
So month-on-month growth, I think we mentioned before, and probably everyone knows that we were on Shark Tank. That was actually an incredible opportunity for us, just purely for PR purposes. And I think our business grew 300% overnight.
Our revenue was 300. Our revenue growth was 300% month on month for those couple of months. I mean, our revenue growth is last month 63%. We're still growing massively, and I think that you can't really, money can't buy stuff when you're that kind of opportunity, that exposure. You're on national TV. There's about 1.7 million viewers.
As well, right?
It was 8.5, almost 9 minutes, and then
But
just
we
to be
actually, I think we filmed for how many hours?
2.5 hours.
2 or 3 hours.
Really?
Yeah, and they condense all of that down into what, 8.5 minutes?
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to apply for Shark Tank, I mean, how do you approach this then?
This is actually a really funny story. So I had applied for Shark Tank, and before meeting Lisa, you had to apply around August. You had to apply around July.
It was earlier, yeah.
And then Lisa had applied. We both didn't tell each other. We met early August.
Yeah.
And then I remember it was early September. I got an acceptance letter saying you've made it to the next round. I was like, how am I going to tell Lisa that I've done this and that now I want to go and do Shark Tank and now we're together? And she goes, Lauren, I've gotten into Shark Tank. She ended up telling me, and I was like, me too.
And we actually had to go to Shark Tank and say to them, we both applied separately. Now we're one company. And they said to us, this has never actually happened before.
Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
But they were so excited about it.
Yeah.
And that experience was amazing. I mean, it was a few months worth of, it was quite grueling. Like, you had to do a few stages of, like, the interview process and, like, a casting where you're sort of pitching to fake sharks. And then you go and do it. It was like around November last year. So we filmed it ages ago and it came out in July, which was great because it gave us sort of 6, 7, 8 months to get our product in a really good place.
Yeah.
But still everything crashed when we went live. I mean, we had that much traffic. You can never expect it. But yeah, the growth has been incredible. So as you said, Jen, we've grown from the 2 of us to 7 full-time staff in a matter of 3.5, 4 months.
Yeah.
So that's been a journey. I think learning how to manage people on top of your normal workload and just shifting your roles a little bit to, think about culture and think about, scaling the business and growing together as a team and, setting up our office. We used to work from home and then a co-working space, and now we've got our own office. All those things, you're setting up your own internet, you're setting up, all this. It sounds crazy, but there's so much more now to think about. But it's like the most exciting thing in the world.
Yeah, and just on that note, we're actually looking for a great iOS developer. So if you're an iOS developer and you're out there, please get in touch
iOS
with us.
developer or an Android developer as well.
So what's your culture like then in the office?
It's fun.
It's
pretty fun.
Yeah, we high five all the time, and we get up and we celebrate the wins, like the little wins.
It can be honestly the tiniest wins, like beating our bookings from the day before. It can be a quick celebration. I think that's really important. We've done what's called the Glamazon Hackathon, so we're going to have them every couple of months. But the last one went super well, so we basically hack our own product together as a team. You have a few hours, hack everything and rebuild it and try to make better features and come up with new wireframes, and everyone presents their ideas. And that was really, like, we sort of bonded together as a team as well as adding value to obviously the product. So that
and our whiteboard is the most regularly used thing in the office. I mean, everyone loves that thing, but it actually brings the team together.
It does. We all crowd around that whiteboard. It's true. I think it's important though, from a culture perspective, for us, like, we've never been the type of people to be like, we're at the top and then you're at the bottom. We want people anyone who comes on our team to feel like they can make a massive impact to this business themselves, and that, everyone has equal amount of
input,
ownership and input and value to add. So we try to encourage that and make people feel that they can work autonomously, unsupervised, and we can celebrate the wins that they have individually as well. So it's exciting.
It is exciting. And in saying that, I think everyone sort of has their own tasks. We set fortnightly sprints, and we have like a weekly scrum, and we do our stand-up. So we have like some sort of regular, way
interaction, so that we know that we're on the right track.
But then as Lauren said, we let them work autonomously in between. So we sort of have our like little touch points, and then everyone does their own thing.
Amazing.
But Glamazon, I should state this though, because I think it's so confusing for some people, because we're in the beauty space. People think we're a beauty company. Glamazon, we identify massively as a tech company. So most of our team are developers. They don't like to be bothered anyway. Like, they make us use Slack when they're sitting right next to us, because they don't want, they're in the zone, as you would know. So so for us, it's important to have those scrums and those stand-ups so we all know where we're all at. But other than that, it's like everyone's left to do their own work. They've got their headphones in and away they go. But Glamazon is massively a tech company. When we raised funding, we chose to, how we were going to use those funds and spend it, and it was mainly on technology in the team. So I think that's important to mention.
So how would you describe your leadership styles?
I think we complement each other because we're very different in our leadership styles, and we kind of play to our strengths then as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everyone always says, I'm bad cop and this is good cop over here. Yeah.
I think
so maybe that explains it.
My old boss Tracy Baker said, Lauren, you're too nice to a fault.
So nice.
So I think it's great to have Lisa to balance me out sometimes. To go, no, we need to claim back that 28 cents from Telstra.
Yeah, that bill.
Yeah. So
Telstra, if you're watching,
we want our 28 cents back.
Always be hustling.
No, we definitely complement each other in that way in terms of our leadership qualities, I think.
Yeah,
but I'm learning. Like unfortunately, as business leaders, we had to, business owners, we had to fire someone recently. That was something really heart-wrenching for me.
Never gets easy, does it?
It doesn't, and I actually learned a lot from Lisa, and Lisa took the reins, but then we sort of shared in the experience as well. We both sort of had our say to this person, and I think next time I might probably, just so that I can get the hang of it.
Hopefully, if our employees are watching this, we don't want to fire any of
No, but it's just a normal part of business life, I suppose, and so that was quite interesting learning from Lisa. Lisa's been in business for 8-9 years now, a successful swimwear label. So it's important to always improve your leadership qualities and skills.
Those things are difficult. I mean, the first time I had to fire someone, it's very sunny. The first time I had to fire someone, it was hard. It's so difficult, and when you have a heart and you feel for people, I mean that emotion plays into it. And I know Lauren has such a big heart, so. I mean, but then if you look at business as business, and that's what I try to do, I say, this isn't emotional, it's not personal, it doesn't mean I feel a certain way about you. Business is business, and that's what it comes down to, and we have to make decisions that are in the best interest of the business.
There's no point, it's not school, people aren't paying to be there, unfortunately you're paying for them to be there and do a job, so it is what it is, right?
Exactly.
So obviously you guys have a lot going on, a team, growth, international explore, you're traveling a lot overseas at the moment. How do you manage your headspaces? We talk a lot about mental health in startups, making sure that you can be the best that you can be to give the best to your business. How do you manage that?
I think it's so interesting. Lisa and I are so similar as people. Like our personalities are quite similar. We have different skills, but I mean, Lisa, you take care of yourself very.
Yeah, I'm all about exercising every morning, so I'll get up and do an hour, and it actually is the only thing that clears my mind, and I just focus on what I'm doing for that hour. I try not to think about work, I don't have my phone with me, and it just really gets me ready for the day. And I think that's such an important part.
So
and
important.
You do the same.
I do the exact same. I mean, anyone who follows me on Instagram will see my story. Every morning I'm down at Bondi Beach. And it just is the most... I pinch myself most mornings. I'm like, I'm waking up. This is my backyard. I get to walk down and look at the beautiful ocean and feel the sand on my toes. Literally, it's just quite incredible. So always, walking around and getting exercise out of the way in the morning. I also see a spiritual guidance counsellor. That sounds very fluffy, but it's mainly about learning about energy types and how to have the balance of your inner adult and inner child, and I mean that's just one. It's a form of meditation as well. So we always start with a group meditation, 20-minute meditation in the session. I think it's just everyone's got their own thing, and for me, I just love learning about it's a combination of psychology mixed with spirituality and meditation, basically.
And I also think that sometimes there's conflict in the office. It happens. Like there's things that we might get upset about or emotional about. And Lauren and I are big believers in, I need to go for a walk for 5 minutes just to come down from where I am now. And we do that when those things happen. You're like, all right, give me 5 minutes. We go out, we think about it, we come back, and everything's okay. And I think it's a really important point that you need to sometimes take yourself out of the situation.
Remove your ego as well, and just think what's going to be best for the business.
And in the scheme of life as well, this isn't the worst thing that's happening in life right now. Like when you put things in perspective and really think about it, like there's so many things that are going on in life, and this tiny minuscule thing that upset me really means nothing.
I think above all, communication is paramount in any relationship. Working relationships, romantic relationships, family, friends. you need to be communicative, and Lisa and I are really good at that. Anything that's on our minds, whether it be serious chats or, you know, even trivial, whatever it is, we just talk about it.
Yep.
And I think it means that we don't ever fester on anything, or we can't have it. No time for resentment to build, because we're actually just blah, like word vomiting to each other.
And actually, now that you mentioned that, I think like when you have something in your mind and you hold it in, the build-up is actually worse than the conversation.
Yeah, definitely.
It's so true. I feel like, by the way, I feel like such an idiot with sunglasses on this interview. I feel like Anna Wintour, like front row fashion week.
Well, you are in, you know, beauty tech, right?
Yeah. It's actually really sunny.
Sorry.
No, just so you all know what I'm wearing.
Besides being fabulous. So, I mean, two-sided marketplaces are really challenging, no matter whether people are day one or, you know, 5 years old or whatever the case. How do you guys manage your supply and demand? The big question.
Yeah.
That is the biggest question, isn't it?
For me, I think for me when I started Glamazon, it was always getting my first 10 salons on board, because I knew that I needed the asset first before I lured the customers in with a value proposition.
Great.
So it was about starting really small. So I started with 10 salons and 200 customers.
Great.
And in 2 weeks I booked 49 appointments. That was sort of my proof of concept. And then it grew from there. Then it went through I think I onboarded to up to 40 salons, and then just went crazy on the PR. Obviously I came from, my background was PR, so I was a publicist, Vogue, Harper's, all the amazing publications that wrote stories about Glamazon. Then boosted the demand, then went back to the supply, and then I think we got up to 200 salons. I think it's just important to know your data, know your metrics, look at be using your analytics, your unit economics. Don't assume too much. If you assume too much without checking the data and checking how your customers are interacting, you're probably going to lose. The market's the market. Sometimes you create something that you think is going to work in a certain way, and then the market will interact with the product, and you learn so much from your own customers, and so then you tweak things. But
it's, I think I started too with supply, obviously, because you can't create demand when you've got no supply. But it was like, create this pool of supply, then bring up the demand, but it's always going to be like one is going to be above the other, and I don't think there's a perfect way to balance that out. I mean, we look at heat maps so we can see where our demand and supply is, and we try to onboard to match where that demand is coming from. But it's one of those things. I don't think there's a perfect answer for it. I think
until Tammy.
Until Tammy. Over here, this girl.
We're on the waiting list. It's funny though, because it's not just as simple as, oh, here's my supply and here's my demand. It gets much more complex than that.
Suburb levels, right?
Well, suburb to suburb, and then you talk about the behaviours of your supply. You know, some of our amazing stylists have quit their full-time jobs and quit their part-time jobs to work full-time on Glamazon because they're making so much money, which is amazing, doing what they love, of course.
And the flexibility.
Exactly. So then they have the ability to take on more appointments in the week than one person, say, next to them in the same suburb who works full-time and only leaves 1 day a week for appointments. So the supply looks like it's in the one area, but really it's cut down to only one person who could take on most bookings. So you really have to look at who's full-time, who's part-time, who's who's doing full-time work outside of Glamazon, part-time work, and who's full-time on Glamazon, and then suburb to suburb. It becomes complex. It's really granular, exactly. And then you think about, well, if you're a makeup artist, your appointments are usually ranging between sort of 60 and 90 minutes, whereas if you're a hairdresser and doing blow dries, that's 30 to 60 minutes, so you're going to fit more into as a hairdresser. So I mean, it becomes really complex.
And surely your metrics were all skewed for the lead up to the weekend, I'm assuming.
You know what? Mondays and Tuesdays are the busiest days.
Really?
Not for services, but for bookings.
Really?
Yeah,
appointments.
Which is interesting.
Sunday night as well.
Yeah, and we didn't think that it would be like that until we saw the bookings coming through. But I mean, it just shows you the behaviour of your customers, and everyone's thinking ahead. Oh, I need this on the weekend. I'm going to book it now. And I wouldn't think people are booking at night on a Monday, but it's what the metrics say.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And so for the style of customers that you have you adjusted your marketing to kind of change over time?
Definitely.
You kind of maybe thought they were one type of person, but now they're different?
Yeah, we optimize our ads weekly. So on a weekly basis, we look at what's happened, what's converting, what our market is, who's responding, and we do have a team that work for us and optimize our ads on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I think also, you know, retargeting is super important. We're super focused on repeat purchasing.
Yes.
So once, you know, if you do interact with Glamazon and go to our website and book an appointment, you will
Stalk
be
them
seeing
for the
more.
rest of your
Glamazon will be everywhere. We'll infiltrate their dreams.
Love the confidence, though. You will be seeing it tomorrow. It's happening.
It's happening. But look, it's just what's working. And I just think, but in the same respect, like what's working now may not work in a month's time, so not to rest on your laurels, just constantly look at the numbers.
What would be the 3 tips that you'd give to first-time founders on two-sided marketplaces? What to look out for?
What to look out for?
Or even just to be aware of?
I would say, and this is one of our favourite things, inch wide, mile deep. I started out as, you know, a salon booking up for everyone, anyone aged between 18 and 60 who would book at a salon. And it's like, I think back to then how naive that was, in the sense that imagine my marketing spend if I had to market to all of those people around Australia. Imagine the brand that I'd have to create that appealed to all those different age categories. It's just not going to work. Inch wide, know your market to an inch, you know, a niche, and then know it a mile deep. Don't go a mile wide and an inch deep. I think that's one of our favorite tips.
And I also think a really important metric is your CAC, your customer acquisition cost. And we've been really looking into it lately, and because we were aware of it and we knew what it was, but we've been so deep within our CAC at the moment. It really matters. And that's a really simple metric you can know, and you can gauge your spend there, and you can know how many customers you'll get on board. I think it's really important for people to look at their metrics and understand them.
Of course. Especially then to compare against your lifetime value, to then make sure that you're actually making your money back over how many uses.
Exactly.
So you can have a profitable company.
Very
important.
Very, very important.
I think the third tip would be, a mentor told me this years ago, strength before speed. I see a lot of marketplaces who want to scale Australia really quickly. They want to speed and accelerate. Strengthen what you have almost in a small area. Like, you know, I started with the eastern suburbs, so did you, Lise. I think it's, you have to prove out,
great place.
prove out your model, have a solid market fit, strengthen your business model. You know, maybe you have to tweak a few things. Are you charging the right amount? Is it too high? Is it too low? You know, are you
test a lot.
You have to just
A/B
test a lot.
test,
And then once you've got that strength, then you can speed. That strength might take a few years. Be patient in the journey. But I can tell you now, by trying to accelerate too quickly, you're just going to drop the ball. It's like juggling too many plates. You know, one's going to smash, or a few are going to smash. I also think that, you know, your entrepreneurs are naturally guided towards a shiny light, which is quite funny because I've got this shiny light right in my face right now. But naturally, we want to go towards the shiny things, and I'm going to focus on this now and this. Focus on one thing. Have some tenacity and the drive to see out one concept. Glamazon tried to create Glam Fit back in 2015. It was a fitness version of the salon booking app. We did an integration with Mind Body, who are an amazing company, and I was so grateful to do that. But as a one-man band, the beauty side of things started to drop. I remember executing this huge photo shoot with influencers, and I pumped out all this fitness stuff until, you know, 2 weeks later to close it, because I was trying to speed up too quickly. So strength before speed.
That's great. Awesome. And other podcasts, books, anything that you guys look to for advice or continued learnings as leaders?
I want to say this on your behalf. This is the biggest Gary Vee fan I've ever met.
I know what I like. I love Gary Vee. He just says it like it is. I learn something from him every day.
Gary Vee, I hope you're watching.
I've emailed him. He hasn't actually emailed back, but I haven't ever tweeted him. He's always like, just tweet me. I know. I'm actually going to see him speak in November. Success Resources are putting on an amazing event in November.
Is he there in person this time?
Yeah, he came by hologram last time.
She was really disappointed.
I can imagine.
I actually sent them a letter. Oh God, I don't know what it was. But
do you want to talk about this? Are you okay?
About enough therapy about it. But I personally follow Gary Vee. But in terms of a book, I've just started to read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a...
You can swear it's fine.
I guess The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And just like the way it's written, it's just I don't know, it's also on my level. I guess Gary Vee swears a lot too. Maybe
Yeah, he
I like
does.
swearing.
Yeah.
Or maybe I just like
You
the
relate
level
to
of
it.
yeah, I relate to it.
Yeah. Mine's a little bit different. I think a lot of the people in my life are investors and entrepreneurs, and I have a few close people to me that I take learnings from, and I interact with them on a day-to-day basis, and I really like to surround myself with people that I think are more knowledgeable and have excelled in business, and I want to learn and suck up as much of that as possible in real life.
Yeah, Lisa's very good at surrounding herself with amazing people that are real. Mine is sort of on the screen.
So you girls have a board?
Yeah. Well, we've got a board that we do phone calls and stuff. We're trying to, at the moment, make it more official and do actual meetings in person. It is hard. A few people on our board are in Melbourne.
Right.
And everyone travels so frequently. It's quite difficult.
Yeah, but we're trying to make it more official in terms of having a board meeting. At the moment, it's just a monthly phone call.
Gotcha.
So we do have a board. We do have mentors. Rob Kowalski, who's been my mentor for 5 years, is also a shareholder in Glamazon. He's now become sort of both of our mentors.
Great.
And yeah, it's kind of good that we get to leverage off the people that, I've also leveraged off who Lisa surrounds herself with, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But it's so important to surround yourself with the right people. Any kind of budding entrepreneur out there, get a mentor, get someone who's done it before, who's made the mistakes.
And talk to people about your idea. I think people, like we were saying before, tend to hold their ideas close to their heart.
Can you sign this NDA?
Yes.
Before I get some advice?
By the way, guys, NDAs aren't worth the paper they're written on. But they hold it so close and they don't want to share it. And it's not the way to grow. If you have, so much confidence in your idea, and like Lauren said, it's all about the execution. Yeah. So take on as much feedback and help as you can from people around you.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So I asked everyone this, so forgive me. If you could have a superpower, what would it be? Like, you're like Superwoman.
Superpower.
Yep.
My mind automatically goes to a mind reading, but I feel like I don't know if that would be the best superpower.
My mind switched to Gary Vee for a second. I'd like to teleport myself to in front of Gary Vee right
So
now.
you guys have a three-way relationship. You, me, and Gary.
Yeah.
What does Gary say?
I know this sounds actually crazy, but I think that you can you can't create a superpower, but you can manifest a life pretty easily if you believe in it. And this might sound, some people over there, behind the screen are going to be rolling their eyes, but I genuinely think that you can live a life that feels rigged in your favor if you put in the hours and the work, and it feels like you have a superpower anyway because you're making your dreams come true. Like, I live my reality every day is like watching my dreams come to life, so that feels like a superpower in itself. That can be a bit cheesy.
And someone very close to me recently said, the world works for me, and he truly believes that, and I believe that too, and my belief is like a bit more spiritual, I guess, in a manifestation, right? But I think you're completely right. I think if you focus on something and you're sure about it and you don't doubt yourself, it's going to happen.
It all comes together.
Yeah.
Awesome. And how can people support you? Obviously, if they're developers, iOS and Android developers, come
or if you're a freelance beauty professional, I have to say this story. Astrid, who's one of our amazing hair and makeup artists, she moved here from Melbourne 6 months ago, really unsure. She had no friends here. She had 2 or 3 friends here. No contact. She was a makeup artist. So she started to work in a cafe and a bar and started to do makeup on the side, but she was, doing makeup for free just to get her name out there. She didn't even have an Instagram for herself that had showcased all of her makeup skills. She came on board Glamazon, and 3.5 months later, 4 months later, she sent us a text saying she's quit her job at the cafe, at the bar. She works for Glamazon pretty much full time now. She sends us selfies of her on the beach having days off, because on a weekend she'll make $1,000,
Good on her.
So I think that any kind of beauty professional out there, any hair and makeup artist, spray tanner, nail technician, and mobile massage therapist, who all have a car or an ability to get around and do some jobs. It's a great way to make extra money doing what you love and using a skill set.
And you don't necessarily need to work full time. You can work 1 hour a week, or you can work, you know, like 40 hours a week. Where that's the beauty of Glamazon.
Yeah, jobs just come through the. That's one of my favorite parts. Yeah, so the way Glamazon works is you don't have to fill in a calendar. We basically send relevant job requests to you, just like if you were driving around in your Uber and they just get job requests, they either decline it or they accept it. Yep. If you can do a job, it's kind of like magic. One of our stylists said it feels like magic. A booking comes through, you hit accept, the customer's credit card is transacted, so you know that you're going to get paid. You do the service, and 48 hours later, or less than, within 48 hours, the money's in your bank account. Perfect. And a remittance statement is emailed to you, and with the breakdown of tax and our fees and everything, so it makes the tax time really easy for them too. We take out the stress of business admin. We set the prices in a premium way. We have 2 levels of stylist, Glam X and Glam Black. Glam Black are, you'll pay a little bit more for those stylists. They're a bit senior. They've been in the industry a long time, done editorial shoots, things like that. So if this is speaking to you, and if you're liking what we're talking about, just go to glamazonapp.com and click on Become a Partner and follow the prompts, and yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time, ladies.
It's
great.
Fourth
time's a charm. We made
it.
And guys, see you next time. Thank you very much. Bye.